This episode of the all-new Marvel Roundup is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Welcome to the all-new Marvel Roundup, the Southgate Media Group guide to the Marvel Comics of the week. As always, I am Phil Parrish, and joining me is...
Charlie, yes, sir.
Alright, Big Pile of books, most of it mine, so I will start with Punisher number 2. Like I said, I have a big, huge pile, I'm trying to get through these quickly. It picks up, remember last issue, Punisher was after, like this drug ring, and the DA's involved, looking for them also. Well, the issue opens up with Frank in a diner, and I guess he gets some info from the waitress about a number to call. So he calls this number, and I guess they basically give him a place to buy guns. They really don't show that part, but they show him going to a motel and spreading out all his weapons, his guns, his knives. There's a rocket launcher, all kinds of stuff on the motel bed. And then we see, I guess it's a drug buy. We see the guys get together, and then a cop car shows up, and I guess the local cops must be in on it until the local cops get shot and blown away. All the drug dealers die for cover. A couple of them get hit because guess who shows up? It's Frank Castle. Who would have thought? So he's just cutting through all these guys until...
His name is on the book.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess, I don't know if he... Looks like he might mow down most of them, but the one guy, I guess, takes this drug they've been talking about. His eyes get all red, and must increase your speed, because it looks like he's dodging the Punisher's bullets, and then he's dodging every bullet or punch the Punisher throws at him, but then the guy just turns around and he just keeps punching the Punisher, and looks like it's hurting because the Punisher's coughing up blood and all kinds of fun stuff. Then eventually the guy just leaps in the van or whatever and takes off, the pickup truck, and takes off. Leaving Frank there alone with a bunch of dead bodies, but he hears on the radio in the cop car that there's APB out for him that they show, I guess, the DEA agents put out for him. Because the female agent's saying, well, yeah, we got to get ahead of the Punisher, because if we don't, there isn't going to be anybody left in this gang to prosecute. Then they go to Vermont, I guess. I don't know, it must be a big guy. One of the big guys in the drug ring. He's in a trailer, and I guess he must live there with his young daughter. He yells at her for interrupting his phone call, but then looks like 4 or 5 other guys show up, and he's telling them, we got to get ready for the Punisher. And he's saying, we have a welcoming committee and some fireworks handy. And then the guys are like, what? And the guy tells his young daughter to come out, and he shows them that he's put a vest on her with, I don't know if that's C4. It looks like some kind of explosive, Charlie. Father of the Year, huh?
Yeah, really. Well, he is a gangster, so I guess,
Yeah, but, it was a decent issue. I thought we got a little more Punisher-wise and a little more story-wise than we did in the first issue. This is a thumbs up for me. And then I will jump...
No, she's coming out, and is the Punisher there?
No, he's not there yet. At least, not that we can see.
Is the Punisher... Oh, okay. Because I was going to say, if the Punisher was there, that actually might be this kind of interesting psychological thing, knowing the Punisher's history, that, will he allow somebody else's family to die? But no, he's just, I don't know, crazy evil guy. Okay, good to know.
Yeah, I was going to say, we might get that next issue, but, alright, now I will go to All New Wolverine number 9, Road to Civil War 2.
Yay, if you remember, we're on the road to Civil War.
Yeah, if you remember last issue, Fin Fang Foom was attacking the shield helicarrier because they opened the box with the pheromone in it. And then Laura figured out where Old Man Logan was, and she dove down Fin Fang Foom's mouth. But, Maria Hill's telling Fitz what's going on. He just feels the helicarrier shake, and she's telling him it's Fin Fang Foom, close the box. She's telling him, close the box, get it off the helicarrier, and he says, it's not that easy, the pheromone's spilled. But then guess who comes flying in to attack Fin Fang Foom, Charlie? It's Tony Stark in his Iron Man armor. He starts shooting repulsors at Fin Fang Foom, and Maria Hill's telling him, no, don't do that, we have people in there. He's like, in there? He's like, what do you mean in there? And then meanwhile they show Laura making her way down Fin Fang Foom's throat. And Tony's like, you just want me to stand by and let Fin Fang Foom destroy you? And Maria Hill's like, for now. And then Tony's like, oh, we have incoming. And of course, it's a Civil War II tie-in, Charlie. So we have Tony Stark. Who else is incoming then? Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. Got to beat us over the head with that Civil War II crossover. Carol takes, belts Fin Fang Foom in the jaw. Then we see Laura inside. She's calling for Logan. She finds him, I guess, in the stomach, because the stomach acid has dissolved his legs. All that's left is the adamantium bones. So they start climbing out, which you would think Fin Fang Foom would have some reaction, because she's basically using her claws to climb up, which, the inner workings of Fin Fang Foom. So you would think that'd hurt with adamantium claws, even if they're tiny, piercing you all the way from your stomach up to your mouth. And then meanwhile outside, Tony and Carol are trying to keep Fin Fang Foom out of control, but he takes out one of the props, so the helicarrier starts it's gonna crash. Carol and Tony say they can't stop the helicarrier, but they can slow it down, so they tell everyone inside to brace themselves. And then Maria Hill says, Stark, if that thing starts attacking people, keeps attacking, I'm gonna start losing people, take it out. I can't risk my life. Meanwhile, the Wolverines are probably digested. And then Gabby, who's Laura's young clone, says no, and then she grabs a jetpack and jets outside Tony and Carol. She's like, my clone, my sister, is currently inside a raging 100-foot monster, so that kind of puts a damper on things. But Laura's got herself and Logan up to Fin Fang Foom's mouth, so Tony and Carol holding its mouth open. Gabby's there with the jetpack. She starts flying them away. But then Laura says, take Logan, get him to safety. And Gabby's like, where are you going? And Laura says, to fix this. She dives in the water. She gets in the helicarrier. She goes down where Fitz is at, and she's like, where's the pheromone? And she starts rubbing it on herself, Charlie, because she grabs another jetpack and she takes off. So Fin Fang Foom will follow her away from New York. Her and Captain Marvel say they're gonna get them out, draw Fin Fang Foom out to sea. Tony says he'll sterilize the room with the pheromone because that's his forte. He's sterilized a lot of rooms in his time. Because Carol and Laura go, ew. Say draw him out to sea. But then Laura comes home. Gabby has Logan in her bed. Because Laura's like, you brought him here? And Gabby's like, isn't he your dad? She's like, no, he isn't. He's just some twisted reminder of Logan. He's from somewhere and someone else.
Now, just out of curiosity, does Logan have a lower? Is it just like his lower half is gone, or was he just a skeleton when she pulls him out?
His legs were skeleton. Yeah, it was just the adamantium skeleton for the legs. So I guess he's regrowing his
But
legs.
is it like upper body? So he could like talk through all this.
Yeah, everything's fine. I think the only thing that dissolved was his legs. Yeah. And then
Okay, well that's good.
yeah, and then Gabby sees Laura's wearing like a Captain Marvel shirt, and she says, because she's like, "What are you wearing?" She says, "Captain Marvel lent me some clothes. I had to give mine to Fin Fang Foom once we lured him far enough from civilization." And Gabby's like, "You gave your clothes?" She's like, "Did you jetpack naked?" And Laura's like, "Yes, it was cold." Logan wakes up. Gabby says he's been drifting in and out. And the issue ends with Logan saying, "I know this apartment. It's where I raised you." Dun, dun, dun.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. So from the next issue cover, it looks like Old Man Logan's going to be in that issue too. So more fun and games, hijinks, but
Okay, well good. Well, family reunion.
yeah, it was a fun issue. It was another thumbs up. But speaking of Old Man Logan, I'll go to Old Man Logan number 7. It's the conclusion of Border Town.
Yay, Old Man Logan.
It basically opens up with him thinking, chaos. It always ends in chaos, madness, disarray. No matter what I do, it creeps in. He's just thinking about all the people he's lost in his lifetime, and that's when they show. He says he has to keep fighting. One of the Reavers member has Maureen by the neck, and he's telling him, "Give yourself up, Wolverine, or everyone in the town dies." He says, "I'll make you a counter proposal, Bub. Let go of the kid, and I might let you keep your legs." But then he stabs the Reaver, looks like in the head. So, so he's fighting the Reaver.
He let him keep his legs. So there we go.
Yeah, he's fighting him while everyone else runs away. Then he takes like a steel bar and pins the Reaver to a wall. And the Reaver's like, "We heard you were back. We were just gonna use the dog to lure you, but then when we saw you with the kid, she got ideas. She wants to hurt you bad, man." And he's like, "She who?" He's like, "Who do you think, man? Lady Deathstrike." And that's when he cuts the Reaver's head off.
Well, guess he didn't keep those legs.
Yeah. But he keeps thinking, it's always the same with him. He's like, he's done the same thing hundreds of times, and it always ends up the same way. And that's when he finds Lady Deathstrike. She has Maureen and her mom. And Logan's like, "Let them go. This isn't about them." And Lady Deathstrike's like, "Come on, I went to all this trouble for this moment." She's like, "You see, when I heard you were back, I actually doubted it. You cheated, Logan. You were supposed to be dead for real this time, so I had to come and see for myself. And sure enough, here you were, older, but still you. Then I saw you with these two, and I instantly knew how to get my claws into you." She's like, and she gives him a proposition. She says, "I'll let one go, and I'll kill the other. You get to choose." And he's like, "Don't do it." And Lady Deathstrike's like, "Who's it gonna be?" He's like, "The child or the mother." And Maureen's mom is like, "Take care of her, Logan. Promise me." He's like, "I promise." And so Lady Deathstrike drops Maureen, and Old Man Logan says, "You got the shot." And Lady Deathstrike's like, "What?" And she gets like shot. Looks like in the lower back. It goes all the way through. It's like the sheriff of the town from last issue. He's like, "Yeah, I got the shot." Logan's like, "Good, get away," because it doesn't take Lady Deathstrike down, but it wasn't, I guess, enough for her to let Maureen's mom go. And Lady Deathstrike's just like, "You think I'm the only one who's going to come for you?" And he's like, "Maybe not. Maybe I deserve this, but these people don't." He's like, "You came for me." He's like, "Well, now you got me." Pops the claws. They start fighting. She takes off like half of his face, so you could like see the skeleton like come sticking out half his face. She's telling him
It'll grow back.
Oh yeah, she's telling him he's lived too long, made too many enemies. He should have stayed dead. Then he's thinking to himself, "I'm old and slow and blind. There's nothing I can do to stop it. Nothing except let myself become like them. Let myself become chaos, madness, death." And then he just basically starts ripping her. Yeah, I think he cuts her hands off and then puts his claws through her back. He basically rips her up. I don't know. Looks like he might have. I don't know if he took at least one leg off because he said she's like basically dragging herself away. Because he says last thing he remembers is her dragging herself away, and then he like passes out. I guess while the healing factor goes to work.
That's all messed up.
Yeah. So he wakes up. The sheriff's there, and he's telling him, he saw Lady Deathstrike get in a helicopter and take off. He's asking him about Maureen and her mom. He said they're scared, but they're okay. They're inside. They're asking for you. He's like, I can't see them. He's like, just tell her that I'm fine and I'm sorry. And he just like walks away. He's like, maybe he's just thinking, he's like, I brought all this on Maureen. He's like, just like I did the Mariko, just like to JD, to Scotty, to so many others. He's like, Deathstrike was right. I lived too long, made too many enemies. And he's like, but there's only one way to keep her and everyone else I got left safe, and that's to stay away from them, stay as far away from them as I can. He's like, Then the last page, he's sitting around a campfire. He's just like, I'm done waiting around for them to bring their chaos to me. From now on, I am chaos, and I am coming for them all. So I guess he's going after I guess he's going after his enemies again, like he was, the first couple issues.
Yeah, well, maybe it'll be new and different enemies, because I think Mysterio is still mostly dead. So
yeah, but it was another good issue. A thumbs up. So Charlie, what book did you get on your own?
Okay. So my book on my own this week is A-Force, number 6. When last we left our intrepid heroines, they had passed out on a bunch of pies, and the Countess and Nico, who was under the Countess's sway, were planning their world domination. The She-Hulk is sleeping and dreaming of science monkeys, more specifically not science monkeys. She has a fear of science monkeys. I don't know what those are. She awakens, realizes she's in handcuffs, and goes, handcuffs, seriously? But then she realizes she can't break them, and then it turns out that they are locked up in the jail, and all of their powers have been turned off. Although She-Hulk is still all She-Hulky, not Jen Waltersy. We find out from the sheriff, they are all, and he's got like the glowy red eyes, as does Nico, and they all speak with the red text. They were all under the sway of the Countess. And then She-Hulk starts talking to Nico, basically trying to get her to break free, and she's getting kind of close, but she can't quite get there. And then Dazzler Thor calls her hammer, which smashes through the walls and is about to destroy her. And then basically Nico says unworthy, and then the hammer falls and it doesn't obey her anymore. Basically, they're talking about the Countess, how the Countess just wants to rule a land because she could not rule a land on Battleworld. Meanwhile, She-Hulk keeps on goading her, saying, why don't you try to take us over? Obviously you can't, yada, yada, yada. And then Nico basically then Countess has Nico say a spell to She-Hulk and to give her powers back. Do you know what spell she says? What word she says?
What?
Hulk smash.
Oh, that's 2 words.
And so She-Hulk yeah, well, it's 2 words, yes. She give her a word, give her 2. Hulk smash. And so She-Hulk becomes all savage. She-Hulk, super muscular, starts smashing everything. And then as they steer She-Hulk into a wall to knock her out, they start to realize that all their powers are coming back. And then Singularity pops back into existence. That was one of the things that was helping to break Nico, was the fact that turning off Singularity's powers basically made her cease to exist. We cut to Nico and the Countess. The Countess is basically doesn't want to overplay her hand, but she has to deal with these beings, and then has Nico cast one more spell to prove her loyalty, which is Gangster Shoes, which causes all of the characters' feet to turn to concrete, essentially, and they get pulled into the river where they are sinking fast. What happens next? Find out. Issue 7. Fun book, as always with the A-Force. I do like this book. Going to keep on reading it, definitely. I want to see how the Countess ends. Really wondering what's going to happen with the events of Civil War, how that's going to affect A-Force. Because let's face it, this crew is antagonistic to start, and I don't know what's going to happen with them in Civil War, but can't wait to find out. Big thumbs up.
All right, then I will go to Amazing Spider-Man number 13. Power Play Part 2. It opens up New York.
How's Otto doing?
I don't think we see Otto in this issue. I don't think the Living Brain's even in here.
I'm glad I didn't buy it.
Let's see. It opens up in New York Harbor.
Hashtag not my Spider-Man.
So we got Orca attacking a Roxxon ship, and that's when Regent flies in.
Orca's alive again.
Yep.
Yeah, he was dead for a while there. He died. He died a while ago, back in like a couple reboots of the Defenders ago.
Maybe the Man in Red brought
him. Maybe, or Franklin did.
But Regent flies in and
he was cool. He was actually like being a hero for a bit. It was cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Orca takes out. Regent takes out Orca. Cleans up some of the oil that's spilled into the harbor. Basically takes off with Orca. Then they go to Parker Industries. Betty Brant's meeting Harry Osborn for lunch, and Betty's about to invite Peter to lunch with them, and Harry's like, "No, Peter can't come. There's lots to do." And Peter was like, "That's weird." But then all his people show up with a bunch of work, and he's like, "I don't have time. Previous appointment." He's like, "Part of the Big Brother program," and they're like, "What?" They're like, these are $1 billion deals. How is that more important? He's like they say, children are our future. He goes in his office. He changes into his Spider-Man suit and jumps out the window.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, Spider-Man needs to bring back Otto. Get that man a body. Let him be a VP along with Marconi, and let them actually run. Let Otto be your Lucius Fox, Pete. Okay, because you need it. You need someone who can handle this nonsense, because it sure ain't you. Just because you were Franklin Richards' favorite superhero, much more than the Human Torch, does not mean that you should just waste this wonderful gift that Franklin gave you. That's all I'm saying.
So Peter takes off swinging. I guess he's meeting Miles Morales. I don't know if they're gonna train or something, because like Miles is at a batting cage, and he's like using his webbing to like catch the baseballs. So, but then so Peter gets there.
Big Brother program.
Yeah. So Peter's like, "What are you doing here?" And Miles is like, "What? I was just warming up." And he's like, "Not you." And then he looks over. There's Tony Stark in his armor, and because I guess Miles was like, I was coming from an Avengers meeting, and Iron Man just showed up, because Tony's like, "Don't pretend I'm not here." He's like, "Who am I kidding? Like, that's even possible." Then he's like,
Tony.
Then he says, "I just wanted to make sure the kids' new web shooters were working right." And Peter's like, "New web shooters?" He's like, "But I gave him his." He's like, "Why does he need new ones?" And Tony's like, "Honestly, we go way back." So he's like, "This is just between you and me." He's like, "But the design work on those things is terrible, so I fixed them." And Peter's like, "You fixed them?" And Miles is just there going, Miles is just like, this is not good." He's like, "Tony, please stop." And Tony's going, "Yeah,
I hate it when mom and dad fight."
Yeah, because Tony's going, "Yeah, your pal Parker built those, right?" And Spider-Man's like, "Yes, he did." And Tony says, "We don't have to tell him, but if you want, I could fix yours too." And then we just see Peter making a fist.
Well, it's not like Spider-Man designed them. Peter Parker designed them for him, right? Right, Spider-Man? It's not like you're Peter Parker. Wink, wink.
Exactly. But then they go to Harry and Betty at lunch, and they show the reason Harry didn't want Peter to come to lunch because Mary Jane is meeting them.
Ooh, hello.
Yeah, so
hello, Tiger.
So they're talking about her working for Tony Stark, and then they see the story about Regent in the paper, and it takes the three of them 2 seconds to figure out Augustus Roman is Regent. So then we go back to this Spider-Man and Tony, and he's still going on the Spider-Man. He's like, I mean, Parker's heart is in the right place. He says, well, he's not cut out for this. And Spider-Man, this? And he's like, the big boys table, a global company. He's like, come on, everyone knows he's going to screw it up. It's only a matter of time. He's like, and I'm just saying, when Parker Industries crashes, I'm here for you, Webhead. And Spider-Man's like, really? He's like, yeah, you could work for me. And Peter goes, great, let's start now. This is me, boss. First day, punching in as he punches Tony. and of course they start fighting in public. So
that was assault and battery, Peter? Really?
Yeah, because Peter's telling him, he's like, you see this here? He's like, this is company loyalty. I believe in Parker Industries. And Tony's like, you're acting like a lunatic, and he's like,
yeah, it really is.
Yeah, and then Tony's like trying to give him some advice, and then Peter's going, sound. He's like, let me give you some sound financial advice. And Peter's like, sound, I'm at one of the biggest companies in the world. He's like, and you want me to come over to your little mom and pop store? And Tony's like, mom and pop? And then he tackles Peter's like, that does it. He takes off flying with Peter. And of course, Miles is like the adult in the room.
Yeah.
So they're fighting, and of course, someone starts streaming it on their phone so everyone sees it, including Regent. He's like, these reckless fools banding about their power. And then back to fight, Miles is like, I'm taking off, I'm out of here. You're both acting like man children. Because Tony's
but
like,
why is Peter acting out like this?
Well, he kind of says it, but Tony's like yelling at Peter, your best-selling product is nothing but a glorified iPhone. And Peter's saying, the operating system of our webware is years ahead of anything you'd ever. Miles swings off. He's saying he's ashamed to wear the costume. He's like, he needs a new identity. But then as he's swinging, he gets trapped in a red bubble. And then the bubble pops and brings him down, but it's Regent. Because remember in Secret Wars, Regent wanted Spider Sense, so.
Always got it.
And then back in the fight, Peter's saying, so stealing Parker's girl wasn't enough. Now you're going after my protege? And Tony's like, Watson's not anybody's girl. That's none of your business. And as for Morales, and he's like, wait, Peter's like, where is he? And then they just show Regent taking down Miles, but then there's like some kind of big energy blast because they can see it from where they're fighting. They basically call a truce and go. They track down the alley where the Regent grabbed Miles, but the only thing left is part of his Miles' costume. And basically the issue ends with Regent. He has Miles in one of those tanks. He puts this superpowered people when they gain their powers. But his assistant's telling him, this is more than just a Spider-Man. This is also an Avenger. He's like, I knew this. It was gonna come to this, and he basically changes out of his costume, goes upstairs, where I guess he had an interview with Betty Brant, and the issue ends with her saying, "Fine, let's cut to the chase. Augustus Roman, are you secretly the Regent?" To be continued.
Oh my! But why did Peter like?
I don't know.
Okay, so Tony. I mean, unless he knows that Tony but I don't know. And the whole MJ, I don't know, man. I'm just like, if you ever wanted evidence that Peter was not ready for the big leagues, that was it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, bring back Otto already. You know?
But yeah, that.
Just
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was decent enough. It's a thumbs up. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, bring back Otto.
not for nothing. There was this whole idea in the past that Otto was actually a pretty cool guy before, nuclear radiation experiments and AI fused robot limbs drove him mad. Was actually like, a decent guy, And they've kind of retconned that where he was just sort of more quiet than decent. But still, the idea that, you could have Otto come back and not be a total jerk.
Yeah.
And actually, be the adult in the room and run Peter's business with the fair Ms. Marconi, developing tech and really doing well in his life. Because Peter is just, he's just throwing it all away. For what? Oh, you didn't look to the design of my... first off, Peter, the sign of intelligence is being able to accept constructive criticism. If Tony Stark says your web shooters maybe aren't as good as you'd like to think, maybe it's like, really, well, let's discuss what things you have, what problems you have with this, because maybe there's a reason I designed them like that,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. You could be a rational adult, or you can be a freaking teenager, Pete. Are you de-aging now? Is Franklin making you a teenager again so that you look more like Tom Holland? Come on.
All right. Well,
bring back Otto. That's all. Hashtag bring back Otto.
Let's get to a better Let's get to a better Spider-Man story. Spider-Man 2099 number 11. I'll go out. I'll say this is my pick of the week.
Oh my, really?
Yeah. Did you ever read the original series in the 90s?
A few issues.
Okay.
It was one of the, the 90s, like parts of the 90s were times when I was less obsessive in my comic book dumbness. So I would go in, I didn't have, because like that was also when comic book stores were starting to close, so I didn't have my store that would have my pull list. So I'd wander into stores and, buy a bunch, but then I didn't always necessarily get back to the store the next month,
Mm-hmm. But, yeah, because there was a lot of stuff from the original series in this, but probably why I like it so much. But it opens up with Miguel wakes up. He's a prisoner of the Sinister Six. The Green Goblin's basically introducing him to the Sinister Six. We got Venom, who we know is his half-brother.
This is 29 Sinister Six.
Yeah, because he's in a 29. He's in 2099, not the one he remembers, but somewhat close. But yeah, the Goblin's saying Venom, who says he knows your identity, but he won't tell us, because it's Miguel's half brother. Remember how I said the Dr. Octopus looked like he had organic arms and he was all blue? Well, the Goblin says, Dr. Octopus, you've also met a former Atlantean scientist, quite the genius in xenobiology, so he's an Atlantean?
Yeah, I thought that. I think I predicted that last week or last month.
Probably. There's the 2099 Vulture. There's Electro. He's not quite human. An android, actually. Previously a simple worker until a generator accident triggered his self-awareness and also gave him impressive electrical powers.
Oh, so he's cool. That's an interesting take on Electro.
Mm-hmm. And
also meets into his origin as a lineman hit by electricity, and this is sort of a worker robot lineman.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
But and then there's some kind of sand woman. They said they don't give much about her, but they just say, I would not suggest you allow her to sprinkle her sand on you. It'll end quite badly. Then basically, the Goblin's assistant comes in and asks everyone what they want for lunch, because I guess in this new 2099 timeline, the Sinister Six is running Alchemax.
Okay.
So they decide
works for me.
Yeah. And then Miguel's like, I don't understand. How did you take over Alchemax? And the Goblin's like, what do you mean take over? We've always been in charge of Alchemax.
Well, yeah, because it was the Osborne. It's Liz Allen, who was one of the founders of Alchemax, correct?
Oh, yeah, she started in the present day, but it was, it was Miguel's.
Yeah.
In 2099, it was,
It was the Stones, but here it is, Liz Allen built, and so Liz Allen, who has her goblin ties with her little son Normie.
But so basically Miguel's telling them, this isn't my future, and they're like, what do you mean your future? And he's telling them, the business was run by normal people, and this isn't supposed to exist. So Venom's saying, let's kill him before he can go back in time and put everything back the way it was then. Or no, he says, to kill him, and Electro wants to kill him. So Miguel's like, this isn't good, but then there's like a big flash of light and an explosion, and then it looks like, I'm assuming that's supposed to be a giant Dormammu.
Ooh.
Yeah, but Miguel's like, Lila, what's going on? And she's like, nothing. And he's like, what? Like, she's not picking her up. But then he sees Casey in her payback armor. Casey is was his brother's girlfriend. I guess she still is now. So the Dormammu is telling the Sinister Six to bow before him, and Electro's like, I see this in front of us, but I'm not getting any life readings. Then they figure out it's an illusion.
2099 Mysterio?
No, but the Sinister Six is like, what's going on? And then they realize Spider-Man's gone. Casey got him out. And the Dormammu says, that's right, this is yet another illusion brought to you by Firelight. Adios. And it disappears. So the Goblin's
Who's Firelight?
It's Miguel's brother. He gets more into that later on, but
okay.
The Goblin's like, we need to find out who's behind this and all this, and the Sinister Six basically takes off, but then we see the Goblin say, got him? And the voice says, yep, we're clear. And then Miguel's asking Casey as they're like flying off, he's like, who are you talking to? And she says, my friend Jennifer. And he says, she's a part of this? Yeah, you could say that.
She's the Goblin.
Yeah. And then
Jennifer Allen.
And then she's telling him about his brother Gabriel, and he's like, Gabriel's alive? And she's like, yeah, of course he is. Who do you think conjured up that illusion? And she's like, I'll take you to him. But then he sees the city's looking a lot worse than it was, originally when he was in 2099. Because she's asking him what's wrong. She's asking her about the city, and he says, I was thrown back in time. He's like, this mess. He's like, first it was the desolate wasteland rolled over by a Hulk gone nuts. He's like, now it's this. And he's like, tell me what happened. And she's like, the war. He's like, what war? She's like, the guerrilla war. She's like, honestly, you don't know? She's like, it started small, so small. In 2019, like I said, America was already tipping over into civil war with the proposed abolishment of the Second Amendment. Everyone was armed, and it didn't matter. It just started with one man in a test tube. How do all your pistols and rifles in the world prepare you against one man in a test tube? She's like, that's all it took. Within hours, 1,300 people were dead. In a week, 13,000. And it got worse. The terrorist organizations that fronted it, they had troops, powerful. New York became ground zero. That's when he cuts her off. Yeah, Miguel asks about his mom. She says she was killed 2 years ago. Fight against the SS with the Sinister Six. And then he asked about Tyler Stone, his biological father. She said he disappeared some time back. I don't know for sure. Some people think he's one of the Sinister Six. And Miguel's like, oh, yeah, he could be the Goblin. And Casey's like, no, he's not the Goblin. She's like, trust me. So they show the Sinister Six back at Alchemax. They've figured out that, I guess Dr. Octopus figured out that a signal went out, so they figured out that the Goblin's the traitor. And they unmask her, and it's Jennifer. It's actually Father Jennifer. She was a supporting character back in the original series. She was like a priest.
Mm-hmm.
Because even Vulture's like, that's Father Jennifer D'Angelo.
The Temple of Thor or a Christian denomination?
I think it was actually like a Christian church.
Okay.
Or
So
it wasn't.
It's like that Temple of Thor thing, and
Mm-hmm.
the Thor worship, and be sure to be at church on Thursday.
But then Casey takes Miguel back to his brother Gabriel, who's I guess his body's dying, but he's talking to him through like a holographic interface thing. And then the issue ends with them basically get a message from the Sinister Six telling them, we have Jennifer. Spider-Man has to return here within the hour, or we kill the Goblin painfully. So then the issue ends with them saying, "See you soon."
Tune in next month, true believers.
But yeah, I really liked it. It was a lot better than the other Spider-Man book this week. But we got a lot of the classic elements from the original series. But yeah, it's big thumbs up. My pick of the week.
Is it just me, or is everyone better at being Spider-Man than Spider-Man?
Than Peter Parker? Yeah, it seems like it.
We need some Mayday Parker in all this.
Yeah. All right, gonna get to this. The big, huge Deadpool number 13.
I hear it was good. It was the Bipile's pick of the week, although he also hated Civil War 2, which is my pick of the week. So I don't know how much I'm gonna weather that.
No, it was good. Unlike the last $10 Deadpool, which this is $10. I was all mad because it was all about the mercs for money. But Deadpool's actually in this. They actually say it's a 4-issue crossover in one package, because they even tell you, like, on the second page, it's split up into 4 chapters. Chapter 1 is Deadpool 13. Chapter 2 is Daredevil issue 7.1. Chapter 3 is Power Man and Iron Fist issue 4.1, and then Chapter 4 is Deadpool 13.1.
So it's basically So it's basically a trade paperback. Except those usually like $5, not $10.
Yeah, so basically,
I've bought a trade paperback in years.
But basically, if you buy Deadpool and Daredevil and Power Man and Iron Fist, like I do, it's worth it, because like the Deadpool chapter is actually written and drawn. It's the creative team from the actual Daredevil book do that chapter, and the Power Man and Iron Fist chapter is done by their creative team. So
yeah,
it opens up with Ben Urich thinking about he says a brouhaha that went down last week. It's basically a lawyer, Mr. Shirkley, who a bunch of mobsters come for their money, and I guess they think he's stealing from them, but as he reveals later, I guess he just made some bad investments and lost their money. And
just as bad.
Yeah, at least 2 different gangs shows up. One of the gangs brings this is interesting, Typhoid Mary.
Oh, good old Typhoid. And I see you're getting work,
Mm-hmm.
It's hard out there for a hench, man. Let me tell you.
But especially because her and Deadpool have history back from the 90s, which they bring up. But the lawyer basically escapes, and he's like, he's like, he made a lot of enemies, and so he runs to Deadpool to protect him. He says, "I'm a big fan of yours. Can you help me?" And he says, Deadpool's like, "No, I don't think so, but I do love a good story. You've really got some balls, Marvin. You should go enjoy them before someone cuts them off." Because that's when Deadpool... What? Oh, yeah. But Deadpool says, "What do you expect from stealing all this money from them?" And that's when he says, "No, I didn't. I invested as they requested, but I didn't know that the funds my associates were pushing were actual dog crap." He's like, "My horrible clients just bought crap funds from my worst colleagues." And Deadpool's like, That's really perfect. Wall Street robbed from the wrong dudes. I should sell tickets. Maybe the Asians will only take your fingers. That's when the lawyers say, telling him, it's worse than that. They brought in Typhoid Mary, and he's like, Deadpool's like, Typhoid Mary? He's like, I'll take your case. He's like, even though I don't really take cases. And he's like, it's a long story, but back in the day, this is like from his first series in the 90s. He's like, I was in love with a woman named Siren. I thought, he thought he was sleeping with her, but then meanwhile it was a trick of Typhoid Mary's. He's like, it was all pretty upsetting. And the lawyer's like, I know you're a goof. He's like, but she raped you? That's horrible. And Deadpool's like, yeah, that was truly one of the worst experiences of my life. And that's saying something if you've read my handbook entry.
Wow, that's actually pretty cool. They're calling out,
Oh, yeah.
male rape. Yeah, but hey, it is Deadpool. And they actually do, they do touch on the hard stuff, That's why it's a great book, man. I just don't want to spend $10 on it when I have so many other books to buy.
Yeah, I know. So Deadpool's like, where's my payment? And then he throws him a bag, which Deadpool calls pretty rocks. So I'm assuming they're diamonds. He puts them in he opens up his safe. 69 left, 69 right, 69 left. And then as the lawyers... Yeah, as the lawyers go into the bathroom, he says, here. He's like... He hands him a laptop. And he says, here, this is my insurance policy. And Deadpool's trying to fit it in his safe, but it won't fit, so he just throws it in his garbage can. So then they go down to the street. They're going to get on Deadpool's motorcycle with his sidecar, but then a couple guys show up. Deadpool beats them up, and the lawyer's like, how'd you know they weren't real cops? And Deadpool's like, wait, they're not real cops? He's like... Deadpool's like, now that you mention it, their shoes look very uncop-like. So they take off, and basically the gangsters are getting together and talking about, they basically need to team up to get their money back. That's when Deadpool shows up outside, and Typhoid Mary comes out the window. She asks him how much he wants for the lawyer, and Deadpool said she's not for sale, and he hasn't forgotten what she did to him. They basically get into a sword fight, because Deadpool says, I'm here for justice, and Typhoid's like, give me a break, wasn't sleeping with you punishment enough? And he
That's
just
a
yells,
low.
Yeah, he goes, I loved Siren, and comes at her with the sword. So they're fighting, and she says, who are you to judge me? You think because you're an Avenger that everyone is suddenly going to forget what a piece of bleep you are? She basically... And then she uses her pyrokinesis to set the lawyer's clothes on fire, so he has to strip down to his underwear. All the gangsters start opening fire, so they get back on the bike and take off. And then... So they go to the courthouse, and Deadpool's like, we can't trust the cops when they have one place to turn the law. It doesn't apply to everyone, but sometimes it can help. So he's basically walking him through the courthouse, and then, who do they go to, Charlie? The end
Matt
of the first
Murdock.
chapter. That's right. They walk in his office.
He was on the cover.
Yep, and they walk in, and Matt's like, why does it suddenly smell like gunpowder, sadness, and sriracha? And Deadpool's like, oh man. Deadpool says he's probably going to stick around longer, which takes us to Chapter 2, Daredevil 7.1. So basically, I guess they told Matt the story. So basically, the lawyer says he wants in witness protection, and he keeps saying, keeps trying to tell Matt that he has a laptop with all their finances on it, and Deadpool keeps shutting him up. He's like, how do we know we should trust this guy? And he's like, don't you think it's a little suspicious that he hasn't even commented even once on the fact that you're wearing nothing but undies and a motorcycle helmet? He's like, how do you explain that, barrister? Could it be that you yourself are the guilty party? He's like, the defense rests. And he's like, Matt's like, it could be that, but I think it's more likely just because I'm blind. And, and Deadpool goes, blind? Huh. Who'da thunk? And he goes, hiya! And he pulls out his sword and he has it like right in front of Matt's face. And Matt says, you're waving your hand in front of my face to see if I'm really blind, aren't you? I can feel the breeze. And Deadpool's like, more or less. He's like, I had to be sure. You know, there's a lot of fake blind guys out there. Then he says, hold on, I gotta confer with my client. He takes the lawyer out in the hall and he's like, listen, Marvin, you know, I don't have a prejudiced bone in my body. I'm the most tolerant man in the world. I'm a saint. He's like, but I think lawyers have to do a lot of reading. Maybe we should try to get one who can see. And Matt says, I can hear you. And he says, Daredevil goes, I knew it! Being blind gives you super senses. This was all a test. But hey, great news. You passed. And Matt's like, no, you're like 6 feet away, and there's nothing wrong with my hearing. My utterly normal hearing. He's like, I got a lot to do today, but if you have something to offer, I'm willing to listen. And he keeps trying to tell him about the laptop, and Daredevil keeps putting his hand over his mouth. He says, he basically tells the lawyer again about the lawyers need to see. But then the lawyer says, let me handle it. He's like, Deadpool's like, you're hired. Matt's like, I'm a district attorney. You don't hire me. I decide whether Mr. Shirky gets in witness protection. That'll be based on the testimony he can offer me. But you got records on a laptop. Bring it to me and I'll have my people take a look and then we'll see. But no laptop, no deal. So the two of them leave. They're going to go to Deadpool's place to get the laptop. But the lawyer's like, can you get me some clothes? And Deadpool's like, you heard Murdoch, the clock's ticking. So he basically pulls the trash bag out of a nearby garbage can. So he's wearing a garbage bag. And then guess who swings in? Because guess who Matt Murdock called in, Charlie?
Blind spot.
Daredevil.
Oh, how could I have guessed?
He called in Daredevil. He said, Murdoch called me in to make sure, you know, you guys didn't have any trouble getting the laptop. But then, they're sitting there and Deadpool's like, you guys want to Uber or Lyft? He's like, I can never decide. He's like, let's do Lyft. Less fascist sounding. I swear, I'm always halfway expecting to get Himmler as my Uber driver.
Hey, you could just hail a yellow cab. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, this is New York City. It's, you know, the whole thing is these other things are places where there are not constant cabs. Although I guess probably if you have, you know, spandex, it's hard to get picked up in New York City because, you know, you're just really asking for trouble.
So basically, they get back to the theater and Deadpool's like, there's a secret entrance. We'll probably have the laptop soon. And that's when Typhoid shows up with a gang. She sets Deadpool's head on fire.
Waka waka.
So Daredevil's fighting her, but meanwhile they rush inside and Deadpool's screaming, I'm blind. Then Daredevil's like, don't you have a healing factor? He's like, don't minimize my pain, I'm blind. He's like, don't worry, but my super senses should be kicking in any seconds.
Oh, Wade.
Yeah. So he's like, I'll stay down here and use my super senses to fight off the goons. You guys go get the laptop. And they go upstairs. So the lawyer thinks the laptop's in the safe. So Matt's trying to crack the safe. Meanwhile, downstairs, Deadpool's like, you guys have all your guns pointed at me, right? And they're like, yeah. He's like, thought so. He's like, I sensed it. And he drops his swords and takes the pins out of 2 grenades. So they hear a big boom, and the lawyer's like, what was that? And Daredevil's like, Deadpool, I'm guessing he either blew something up or got blown up. And Wade comes in and says, little both.
A little from column A, a little from column B.
So they basically get the safe open, and Daredevil sees it. Well, Daredevil senses there's nothing in there. And that's when Deadpool basically tells them it was in the garbage can. And Daredevil basically calls him the worst person alive. Then Wade's eyes grow back. And he's like, where's Daredevil? And the lawyer says, he climbed out the window. He said to call Murdoch when we have the laptop. They go down and check with Deadpool's maid. And he said, you see a laptop in the garbage? She's like, she's like, yeah. And he says, you didn't think to take it out of a trash, that nice new laptop? And she's like, oh, I figured if it was in the trash, it didn't work. So basically, Deadpool says they have to go to the dump to find... Basically, the garbage truck's been there, so they have to go to the dump to find the laptop. So, Deadpool decides to hire some help to dig through the landfill. So, guess who he hires, Charlie?
Heroes for hire.
That's right. And so that's the end of the... this chapter ends with Luke Cage saying, why is that man wearing a trash bag? And Deadpool says, foreshadowing. So yeah, chapter 3 is Power Man and Iron Fist 4.1. Basically, they're at the dump. Not a lot here. Basically, just them complaining. They have some of the sanitation workers helping them dig through it. He was saying, because Iron Fist is like, you don't see Larry over there complaining, and Luke Cage is like, that's because Larry never led the Avengers. And Luke's like, this is the worst job we've ever taken, diapers everywhere, I'm gonna end up smelling like icky yucky. And Iron Fist is like, what's icky yucky? And he's like, Luke's like, come on, you know. And then they show a flashback to his daughter saying, Papa, I have to go icky yucky. Yeah. It's basically a lot of just joking in the landfill. Wade finds what he says is free underwear in the dump.
Isn't all dump underwear free underwear? I mean,
yeah, but then basically Typhoid and the gang shows up because Wade put on, it was either Facebook or Twitter, that he was going to the dump. So the gang starts shooting. Everyone runs while Luke Cage draws the fire.
good old bulletproof skin.
Yeah, so Luke Cage comes running into the building with the rest of them. His shirt's all, ripped up since he took all those bullets. And Deadpool says, I know it's kind of humid, but not enough to justify running around topless. You shouldn't sexualize yourself that way.
That just reminds me of that episode of that issue of Moon Knight where when Luke Cage was working with Moon Knight and he was still wearing the silk shirts and he was complaining about how expensive it is to get these hand-tailored silk shirts replaced. And he said, I really need to get bulletproof shirts. And Moon Knight says, hey, look, I've had bulletproof shirts and bulletproof skin. Trust me, bulletproof skin is better. But that would also explain now why Luke Cage just wears yellow cotton tees. It's like, you know what? Those are so much easier to replace.
Yeah, so basically they put down Typhoid Mary and the gang, and one of the guys finds the laptop. And basically Iron Fist and Power Man are like, I hate Deadpool. But that's the end of that chapter. The final chapter, Deadpool 13.1. They call Matt Murdock, tell him they have the laptop. Typhoid Mary wakes up. She's shooting fire all over the place. She grabs the laptop, gets in a garbage truck and takes off. The lawyer guy grabs the back of the garbage truck, and then Deadpool shoots a grappling hook cable onto the garbage truck, and then he says, Luke, grab onto me, and Luke's like, no. He says, you guys follow when you can. And then Iron Fist is like, I can't help noticing we're just watching them go, and Luke's like, life is too short, man, our part of this caper is over. But then more of the gang shows up, so Power Man and Iron Fist have to take them out. But then back on the garbage truck, Daredevil swings in. He says we have to stop the truck, and Deadpool says, done and done, and he shoots out some of the tires, and Daredevil's like, stop, you idiot. Then basically the lawyer falls off the truck. He lands on his head, but he's wearing a motorcycle helmet.
Well, good then.
Yeah, he's knocked out for a while, but he's okay. Deadpool swings in. He's taking care of typhoid. He says, I'm done with this. He says, every time I punch typhoid, the merry part of you takes the bruises. So then Daredevil shows up. They basically, they have Typhoid Mary locked up in a padded room, but Agent Preston is there, so I don't know where they have her locked up. I don't think it's your run-of-the-mill
It's the island.
asylum. Yeah, probably.
The raft or something.
Yeah. But basically, Daredevil's taken off, and he tells Deadpool he is a good thing he did for Mary, and Deadpool says, "Tell no one," or it's Deadpool versus Daredevil. So basically, I don't know why, but Deadpool goes back to the theater, and Power Man and Iron Fist are showering all the garbage off there. Maybe because of their clothes smell, so Deadpool gives them some of his line of Deadpool clothing from the store, you know? But basically, it looks like they're sponsoring his clothes outside. Then Matt Murdock shows up. He wants all the evidence because he takes the diamonds the lawyer paid Deadpool. They got the lawyer into witness protection. The mobsters are in jail waiting their appeals. And basically, like, Ben Urich's about to write up the story, but then he's like, not this time. My name is Ben Urich. I'm a reporter, and who's going home sick for the day. That end.
Oh, that's just like the big change where the Watcher said, you know what, this is just kind of a silly story, but here it is. Yeah. Good book, though. Yeah. Good graphic novel, The Big Change by John Byrne.
So it tells you when Power Man and Iron Fist, and Daredevil's coming out next week, so anyone who reads Daredevil, next week is Daredevil.
Yay, Daredevil.
All right. And my last one, finally, on my own, is Moon Knight number 3.
Yay, Moon Knight. I like Moon Knight.
Yeah. If you remember last issue, him and his friends were in that subway station, and the train pulled up, and mummies popped out. So basically, everyone's attacking the mummies. But then Crawley sees, he says, Dr. Emmett, and two of the orderlies, and Moon Knight's like, that's not Dr. Emmett, Crawley, that's Ahmet, the Soul Eater.
Ooh.
But Ahmet's like, really, Mark? I thought we burned that outfit. You're still having your delusions. So Moon Knight basically tells everyone to run. He's going to hold him off. But then he sees Khonshu, says, Mark, over here. This is the only way, my son. Hurry. So they basically, they fight the Soul Eater and the orderly creatures. But one of them injects him with, like, whatever, and so now he can't see their true forms or whatever. Now he just sees them as the female doctor and the two orderlies.
You know, I have to say, this is such a fascinating dissection of the concept of mental illness in a crazy world. Because you do have this very real possibility that, like, what are you talking about, Mr. Spectre? You are, or whatever they're calling him, you know, you are crazy. The things you're talking about, this isn't a fantastical world, but that's not. And I kind of wonder if at the end that's going to be the big reveal in this, is that, no, that this was just some crazy guy. Which is just so grimdark and sad, but...
Yeah, I think they want to put that down.
Almost kind of like man, wouldn't that be amazing if that's the result at the end of it, you know?
Yeah, I think they would just want to put that doubt in your head.
Yeah, well, it's there.
But Moon Knight grabs another, I guess they had another syringe or whatever it was. He is able to inject the doctor. He takes off down the tunnel with everyone else. He's saying, but then it's so dark he doesn't see anyone. He's like, I can't do this by myself. Then he hears Khonshu, yes you can, Mark. You alone must be a light against the infinite dark. And he's basically telling Khonshu he can't tell he's like, is this all real? Am I really just mad? And Khonshu says, does it matter? And Mark says, what? He says, doesn't matter if you are mad. Your madness is your gift, Mark. Your madness is what will keep you alive. You need to stop fighting it. Give into it. Let your insanity guide you. Let your madness show you the way. Then he catches up to his friends. It looks like the tunnel dead ends, but there's like a painting or something. It looks like outer space or something on it. But then they look again and they see a figure. They see Anubis, who basically says, "Do you need safe passage, travelers of the night?" He says, "I will gladly deliver you across the other void, Mr. Knight, and your friends too, but there will be a cost." He says, "It is not coin I require. My price is one of their souls. I will gladly take..." He's like, "I would gladly take yours, Mr. Knight, but it already belongs to Khonshu." So Crawley says, "Take my soul, just get them to safety." He says, I've lived long enough. I'm tired. Maybe a rest is what these old bones need." So they all step on. It just looks like a raft. Then Anubis says, "It is done. The price is paid." And they basically come out. Looks like they come out of like a big wall or something. But one of them says, "What is this place, Mark?" And he says, "I don't know for certain. The other void, perhaps." So they get off on the other side of whatever, but Crawley has to stay with Anubis. But then they, I guess they must come into a sewer tunnel or something, because they go up to a manhole cover. They open it. There's sand coming down. And they make their way to the top. And the issue ends with them coming out in the street, and all you see is flying creatures and the big pyramid he saw in the middle of like New York before. So to be continued.
Dun dun dun.
But this has been really good. I want to see where they go with this.
No, it does sound like it, and as we say every week, these are fantastic books. It would be lovely if they were available. Or not that they were available, that we could afford them all,
Send them to us, Marvel, or give us codes, something.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later. Anyway, moving right along. So, now on to our joint books, yes?
Yes, sir.
Want to start with Avengers or Invincible?
We can start with Avengers.
Okay. Love this book. Although, here's the thing. This book is a book that is shooting at my nerd brain, so I'm doing all this headcanon while I'm reading it. Nothing I know is the case. So all of this headcanon I'm creating, I have no idea if any of it's true, but it's very interesting. Mm-hmm. So we're opening up. Thor is using Mjolnir to power a surplus spacecraft from the Fantastic Four that they pulled the engine out of. So that's why they're using Mjolnir to power the warp drive. Is essentially. Ms. Marvel is all excited because they're in space, and everyone else is like totally blowing it off. Like, oh, we go to space all the time, Ms. Marvel. You so lame, Ms. Marvel, is basically what they're saying. We find out that basically she got the approval for this field trip because Tony had called her parents saying, yeah, she's invited to this great extravaganza. Now, of course, Kamala's mother knows she's an Avenger, so I don't know. Maybe she should be a little more worried about Tony Stark calling, but maybe not. I don't know. You get these. They're getting these ping signals. They trace them to this planet, where immediately their ship gets shot down. Our heroes meet these people who have all been stranded on this planet because this crazy tower keeps on destroying them. Meanwhile, a big smoke monster shows up every day to pull people in. And then we break because Nadia is fixing Jarvis's engine on his little Sportster, little MG. And they go to meet Janet Van Dyne, who is rushing into her Harrier helicopter, invites Nadia to come along. We've got bombs to defuse and universes to save. Meanwhile, the smoke monster has been said to show every so often to pull in as many beings as it can sate. So the Avengers, in true heroic fashion, decide to sacrifice themselves, throwing themselves into the smoke monster. And let me just backtrack here, because this was I just buried the lead. Mm-hmm. When they're investigating the tower, they see, oh, that looks like some sort of band. It looks familiar, but can't place it, says Tony. Now, I don't know about you, but as soon as they said band, as soon as I saw the smoke monster, I knew where we were going. How about you, Phil? Did you know where we were going when we saw the smoke monster and the band, or?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, and I'm like, how can Tony Stark not recognize a Negaband? I recognize a Negaband.
Yeah, well, exactly. One Negaband, interestingly enough. We come to, all of the Avengers are imprisoned, enslaved for some reason by the Dread Annihilus, who is all big, which is an interesting take on it, because it's very, reminds me of when the Psycho Man was big when he had captured the Fantastic Four. So I'm wondering if Annihilus is inside of a little Annihilus suit there. But yes, but okay. Here's why this is awesome for my headcanon. There's a Negaband here. Ms. Marvel is here. Are they going to give Ms. Marvel the Negabands?
Nice.
Oh, so much more than nice. Ms. Marvel, Negabands, so she's got all that shape-shiftery stuff. And then, also, I am now our Superman pastiche. I mean...
Yeah, flight, strength, energy blast, yeah.
Oh, goodness me. Yeah. I hope they don't use it to just bring back Captain Marvel for some reason. But I'm hoping that, the Negabands just give Kamala Khan, just give her that massive power upgrade that we all want her to have.
But the only thing is, I never get too excited about the team books. So I'm like, would they do that in the team book and not her solo book?
No, it'll come out in the solo book. It's all connected. I mean, that's why, Tony shows up with Miles, because they're Avengers. They're hanging out together. Spider-Man's a jerk 99% of the time. He left the freaking Uncanny Avengers because, I don't want to be on a team with Deadpool because I'm just so much better than Deadpool. It's like, really, Parker? Are you? Are you really? I hate that Peter Parker. Otto wouldn't leave just because Deadpool was on it. It was like, I see how this is useful to me as Peter Parker to be on the team, so I shall stay. Yes, so bring back Otto. Hashtag not my Spider-Man. Yeah, really. But no, if they give her the Negaband, she'll have the Negabands in all the comics. And they'll just explain it in the comics. It's like, oh, by the way, Kamala now has the Negabands. Because you do that. You get, here's this power. It was found in this other issue. And now, as we go into this other issue, we're going to explain why this power is now here now, Mm-hmm. And they can do a whole Blue Beetle thing where she's not quite comfortable with using the Negaband power, but it's just in her back pocket at all times, But no, I want Ms. Marvel to have the Negabands, because that would be awesome.
Oh yeah.
And if anyone deserves the Negabands, it is Kamala Khan, because she is really Marvel's breakout star right now. I mean, yeah, I really think that Kamala Khan, can become as iconic as so many other superheroes have become, you know, and so rare when you get those superheroes who become iconic, you know, since the 1960s. So that's all.
Yeah, they're really pushing that next generation. Her, Miles Morales, and Nova.
Yeah, Nova.
No.
Yeah, I guess we got to keep Nova. When there's a perfectly good Boulder, I don't know why we need Nova. But my real hope is that Boulder shows up in the Gwenpool series.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Although I'm really waiting for the Gwenpool versus Deadpool crossover, because that's going to be awesome. Because she's going to be talking to him like, but you know you're fictional. It's like, I know you break the fourth wall all the time. Come on, work with me here.
Be a lot of, I know, like, I know.
Yeah. What do you know? What I know? What I know? I know. And but what will be interesting in that whole thing is just this idea that, you know, much like Howard said to her, you know, it's like, I know you think you're something different, but here's the truth: is you're here now. You're fictional. You're just as fictional as us, which would be a great take on the concept, to say that it's not that we're fictional. It's that we are aware of our fictional nature, but guess what, kids? So are you now. You're in our universe and you're bound by the rules of fiction, which means that which means that, quite frankly, if you fall in love with somebody, you know, and it's going to make their lives more complex if you die, guess what, sweetheart? You're dead. You know, darkness, man. Well, the sun's out, because it can be dark even when the sun's out. Doesn't always rain at funerals. Sometimes it's nice and sunny, just to make your day juxtaposed. So, moving on to Invincible Iron Man.
So thumbs up, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like I said, that was, 90% headcanon on that. Why it sums up, but I do like the all new, all different Avengers. I like that team. I like Tony and Vision on it, and definitely Cap and Thor. Yeah, when we get to Civil War 2, man, I don't know, man. Civil War 2 is definitely my pick of the week, but I am not happy with the choices made.
Yeah.
But, you know, there are choices that were made that have value, and I get that. But at the same time, I'm like, you can't take away the things that are good in this universe. Getting too grimdark, Marvel. What is this, DC? Yeah.
Shots fired.
Yeah, I'm going to get harsh on Marvel, man. Got to get harsh. So opening up with Invincible Iron Man. Rhodey and Mr. Franco, who was actually Tony Stark in disguise, are at his hotel room when someone busts in and they capture Mr. Franco. They put a Spider-Man mask with sewn-up eyes for some reason over his face. And they take him back to meet the Techno Golem. Meanwhile, back in L.A., Ms. Friday confronts MJ about how we really need a human back because they're going to liquidate the company if you don't come back as Stark's assistant, yada, yada, yada. Meanwhile, back in Japan, Tony, who's still wearing James Franco's face, basically has to prove that he is the Black Ops SHIELD guy that they think he is based on his file. He quickly dispatches a bunch of techno ninjas and gets the laser katana, but then the Techno Golem shows him exactly how powerful she is, which is pretty awesome. Meanwhile, we go to Riri, who has her little War Machine armor that she's trying to fly. Turns out that her friend is not a Avengers nerd; she's a Defenders nerd. It's like, really? How useless is that? Says, that's who I'm nerdy about, the Defenders. Blow the Avengers out of the... Okay, all right. Just give me... And she says she needs to get an AI for her suit. Oh, boy. That never ends well. Meanwhile, James Rhodes is in a room talking to a group. And who is he talking to, Phil?
The all-new, all-different Avengers.
Yep, we're going to go rescue Tony. So next week, or next month, big crossover. Oh, man, what will the Techno Golem do with the Vision? That's going to be a plot point. But big thumbs up for Invincible Iron Man. I do like this book. It is really good. Like it a lot better than International Iron Man.
Yeah, I don't know. This month, I think I'm gonna give this one like 3/4 up.
Okay,
I
that's
mean,
fine.
It's decent enough, but it's like it's the second issue. Tony's not in armor, and it's like, okay, how did he dispatch those techno ninjas so easily? I'm like, didn't he have trouble with them when he was in his armor? Now all of a sudden he can take them out easily without armor.
Well, maybe these were the B team techno ninjas. I don't know.
Maybe.
You know, no, because they don't want to kill the guy right away. Because I mean, that's the thing. If you got techno ninjas that you're sending against Iron Man, those are probably your best of the best. As far as they know, this guy's just like a well-trained Navy SEAL. You know, so they're gonna send the B team in. They know no one's gonna die, so they're probably pulling their punches a bit because they just want to see how good is this guy. And he was trained by Captain America. Mm-hmm. That is your entry in the Marvel Wikipedia database. Used to be the handbook to the Marvel Universe has been trained by Captain America, and that was like, oh, you're just total BA now because you've been trained by Captain America. Which they'll bring up every so often. So anyone who's ever been an Avenger has taken a weekend course with Hawkeye and Captain America, and theoretically now stuff. But then again, maybe not. Because let's face it, that means that Boulder has been trained by Captain America. Although I do think Boulder and Captain America could get along great because, they both have that, geeky, nerdy kid past before they gain superpowers. And it's just, Boulder's thing is he just has to find the way to use his powers. That's his thing. Anyway. But yeah, no, I can see why I'd give it 3/4 up for it. I mean, like I said, for me, it gets the thumbs up just because I'm running Invincible Iron Man. But it gets a thumbs up for me just because I like the MJ bit. I wish it was more MJ, quite frankly. And what was really, who's really missing from this book?
Who?
Doom.
Yes.
Where's Papa Doom? Where's Tony Stark's secret father?
Oh.
Got to toss that baseball around with him, man. This is the point in his life when he gets that second chance to build that relationship with his son. He never had the chance to. I don't think Victor Von Doom's going to be his father. No, like I said, first off, that whole International Iron Man thing. Goodness know who his father will wind up being. My guess is, well, actually, who his father probably will wind up being?
Who?
He is going to wind up being the son of Rama Tut.
Oh.
And here's why, okay? Because Rama Tut, of course, dates back to ancient Egypt, which also... The Order of the Shield dates back to ancient Egypt. Okay? And Rama Tut was there, so they're going to have this whole thing with Rama Tut as a ruler of Egypt, much like the Captain Egypt pastiche that they had in that first issue of S.H.I.E.L.D., who defeated the Badoon, was a ruler of Egypt. So you're going to have this idea that you're going to have this DNA from Rama Tut that has been saved for millennia. And when Tony wants to have an heir after Arno Stark, whatever happened to Arno Stark, I can't remember if he died or just went to space or some nonsense occurred with Arno Stark in the comic books, and that when they decided to have another child, they used the DNA from the ancient Order of the Shield's vault of DNA for Rama Tut. And so it'll be that Nathaniel Richards is the centuries further Nathaniel Richards, who goodness knows what that's all about, will be the father of Tony Stark. That's a possibility. Assuming it's not the actual 616 Nathaniel Richards, who is the father of Reed Richards. But anyway, so let's move on to Civil War II, because we're getting long here. And this is our last book, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, this was my pick of the week. What did you think of it, Phil?
I liked it. I mean, we kind of knew where it was gonna go, but I don't know. I didn't think they were gonna. Well, I knew a death was coming, but I didn't think they were gonna kill off who they did.
Well, yeah, and that is a mess. Well, but here's what I'm going to say, because I was reading something online today about how it is painful that when they go back to Civil War II, they do open up with the death of an African American character, and it's like, yeah, killing Rhodey is not cool in the sense that Rhodey, oh, by the way, spoilers, kids. Rhodey is this really one of the major African American superheroic characters in the Marvel Universe. I mean, he certainly isn't the first. I mean, obviously, the first was Black Panther, and then Power Man, and then Falcon. Well, actually, Falcon comes before Power Man. Because
he's the first one in the MCU.
Well, yeah, was the first one in the MCU, but here's the thing. Also, what Rhodey was he was the first African American character to become a marquee character, as a legacy character to take over for Tony Stark and to become Iron Man. And to kill him off is gut-wrenching, but it was so important. And do you know why it's important, Phil?
To put Tony Stark at odds with Carol Danvers?
Oh, no. And this was the thing, because as I said, the guy who does the pull list for Comic Book Resources was like, oh, this is a bad book. I don't like this book. I don't like anything about it. It's stupid. Because he's or she, I don't actually know who it is. But they basically made this point, which is the surface read. And if you're doing a surface read, get the heck out of comic book reviewing. Because if you can't start headcanon this from page 1, you do not belong in comic books reviewing. Okay? I'm just going to lay it out there right now. Because he's like, hey, precognition isn't a particularly rare power. People have this throughout the Marvel Universe, and they use it for all sorts of things. Why is this Ulysses story so important? And the fact of the matter is Ulysses isn't the cause of civil war. If you're sitting here thinking, oh, Tony Stark is taking the moral high ground because, oh, what if he predicts that something bad happens with Hulk or something? And does the whole Simpsons references. What if he says he saw the Hulk and the Hulk kissed Ultron and a baby popped out? Which is a Ralph Wiggum reference, quite frankly. So let's give some actual book storyline here so people understand. So basically, the Avengers show up. Death Celestial has arrived because it is Wednesday in the Marvel Universe. And all of our heroes do battle, and they get basically A-Force and the X-Men and the Thunderbolts. And, well, no, not the Thunderbolts, but
Ultimates.
Just a nonsensical mess of heroes. Even Hydra Cap is there. Sure, why not? So we battle the Celestial, then all the magic users show up because they're doing the full court press here. They Azarath, Mentrion, Zinthos, the Celestials out to somewhere as 3 random children are just standing on the street that day that Spider-Woman and Spider-Man are standing by protecting. We'll go along with it. It's cute though. And they banish the Death Celestial, and they have a big party. Yay! And everyone's saying, hooray for the Inhumans! We're all buddies now, and everybody else. And the mutants, you're cool too. We're all friends here. But how did we know that the Celestials were coming? And then we find out that there's Ulysses, he's a precog, and Jean Grey can't read his mind, which is like freaking people out a bit. And then, he explains his powers, explains how Karnak helped him understand his powers, and then you get the first little, Tony's like, I don't think this is cool. And Carol Danvers is like, no, this is totally cool. We just got rid of a celestial, Don't be saying, well, what happens if storyline if we just defeated a celestial, We get the Thanos reference, and actually, here's what was important in this, because there's a scene at the party where Rhodey comes by. Where is that scene? I'm trying to find it here. Oh yeah, there it is. And he says, I couldn't help but notice you were looking a little rusty out there. And Rhodey says, well, maybe if someone hooked a brother up with his new suit technology instead of having him fly around in his late 80s hand-me-downs. Says, sure, have you have the $4 billion on you? Or says, $4 billion, where's the best friend discount? That is the best friend discount. Ha, 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 ha. I'm giving you subpar armor, Rhodey. How could this ever possibly bite me in the tuchus? Well, as it turns out,
No.
Thanos arrives, Thanos destroys, and that's the crux of it. This isn't about Ulysses and precog powers and what is the moral high ground, because if you notice, Tony specifically says, oh, Cap, I'm not going to get into an argument about the moral high ground with you. Those never end well, because it's not about the moral high ground. It's not about what are we going to do next? It's about, sorry. It's not about that. It's about the fact that Tony Stark didn't give his friend the help he needed.
Feels like you failed him.
Yeah, exactly. Tony Stark is eaten by this guilt that is devouring him. And what does he have except, that. And, that's where we're at, I mean, that's the cause of Civil War. It's not this big moral conundrum. It is
it's basically what? In a roundabout way, Ulysses got Rhodey killed in Tony's mind, and now Tony's like, well, if we keep following him, more people are going to die.
No, but it's not. It's that I killed Rhodey. That's what Tony... Because he even says that when he's sitting there. He's like, well, shouldn't the things have done that? It's like, shouldn't it have been enough? And the answer was no, Tony, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough because... And here's the thing about it, too, is like Carol says, look, he was there when we got the call. He was a soldier. He said he was coming in to fight. He wasn't going to sit on the sidelines. Even in his 1980, and there's a real sticker on the head there. His 1980s hand-me-downs, which they are. Mm-hmm. Which means these are 30-year-old. Which doesn't even make any sense in the sliding time, but the idea being that this is his second-rate armor, which he is pushing off on poor Rhodey, and and that's why Rhodey dies. That's why Rhodey dies, because Tony Stark didn't take care of his friend. And he's gonna and like all people who feel insane amounts of guilt, he's going to find everybody else to blame. He's going to blame Carol, and he's going to blame Cap, and he's going to blame everybody, saying, you shouldn't have done this, you shouldn't have done that, because you thought, and he's going to say that, no, because you thought you knew everything because you had the precog, but you didn't know everything. And that's the thing. When the guy at Comic Book Resources in the pool list says, there's lots of precogs out there. Why is this one so special? And the answer is exactly. There's nothing particularly special about Ulysses. Mm-hmm. What makes this special is that Rhodey died. And Rhodey died because Tony... like all superheroes, isn't thinking about his partners. You know, I hammer Cap on this all the time. You know, and for what it's worth, this is a thematic thing going through the Marvel Universe right now. You know, all these people that become associated with heroes who wind up on the fringes. You know, whether it's D-Man who goes through a really rough patch, or Jack Flag who winds up getting thrown out of an airplane. You know, all these things are ongoing and very real in the Marvel Universe, and they're problematic. You know, Captain.
All right, here's my question. I don't know if I want to poke this hornet's nest, but
okay.
Do you think anyone's gonna realize that wouldn't Steve Rogers normally stand up and draw a line in the sand and take a side, but he seems to kind of be hanging back, or am I just reading too much into that because I know he's Hydra?
Well, I think you might be reading a bit more into that than is necessarily there. I mean, that may be a thing. And we basically, you know, as we'll get to in superconnectivity, I have my new theory on Cap that I think I have found the grand unified theory of Cap, or Hydra Cap, which we will discuss in superconnectivity. But I think it's possible that he is not feeling confident because he doesn't trust himself right now because he knows something's wrong. But more to the point, it's like this. Right now, what is at issue is Ulysses says, Big Bad shows up here. And right now, everyone is going to where the Big Bad shows up, and they're taking their action. This is not in and of itself problematic, you know? Like I said, this is why this is the point of this. It's not that Ulysses is giving some vague possible future. He's saying, oh, I had a vision where a Celestial showed up or Thanos showed up. And these are big bads that we all understand are big bads. You know, there's no reason to question it until we get to this point where we start getting into minutia. You know, just starting to worry about minutia right now is not the point. Now, and again, you can make all these arguments on Tony's side. You can say, well, we can't see into his mind exactly what we're looking at. We don't know. We don't know exactly what is going on. And it's a real risk to be making plans based on what we don't understand. But at the same time, you know, the counter argument is, but the results are this. He said Thanos would show up here at this time. Thanos did. We were there. We stopped him. Yes, that wound up being bad for, you know, She-Hulk and Rhodey. But let's be honest here. It was going to be bad for She-Hulk and Rhodey when Thanos showed up at any time, you know. This wasn't going to end well when Thanos showed up, you know. This way we had the element of surprise. And there's no argument to say the element of surprise isn't a viable element, you know. There's no way that you can argue that this is not good, you know. And for what it's worth, the entire argument that Tony wants to make is how far out you want to go on this, you know. It's basically baby Hitler, you know. I envision that at some point it's going to be revealed that something bad happens, and should we kill this guy to prevent it? But that's not how Ulysses' power has been working. Even that's not the evidence we've been given. The evidence we've been given is he says, Big Bad shows up at this point. Deal with Big Bad, you know. And that's the crux of it. And so Tony's rejection of it is suspect from the start. And then when we get this whole guilt level to it, I think that's going to be and again, like I said, at the party, even though he's starting to work out this, you know, worst case scenario outcome as any person who's intelligent is possibly going to do, he's not sitting there saying, oh, hey, I'm going to fight this right now. He's just like, look, I don't think this is a good idea. I can see how this could go south real easy, but I'm not going to fight Steve on this. I'm not going to fight you, Carol, because, you know, I get that it's not a big fight to have right now, but just understand if this is going to be how we're going to operate, I'm not going to operate this way. Yes, I respect the future, but what he's seeing is possible futures, and I don't want to get into this. I don't want to open up the can of worms that this is, because he understands this is a can of worms. Eventually, like you said, Ulysses is going to see something that's not going to be so straightforward. But then, obviously, the point is that maybe we just shouldn't act on it if it's not straightforward. That's the other complexity to it. But in this case, I think that was all set up so that the reader would understand that, yes, the reason we're having the Civil War is because Tony feels guilty because he didn't give Rhodey his best armor. That he was sending Rhodey out in there. And, for what it's worth, Rhodey's just a guy. He's a guy in a suit, but not the most advanced suit. He's a guy in the hand-me-downs. He's a guy with guns soldered onto his suit. He's got stuff that's not specifically related to his suit there. For what it's worth, I'm guessing that they figured, well, okay, we're going to take out Rhodey, but we're going to bring in Riri because she's going to be our new war machine. And she's also going to be the war machine that Tony is going to be like, I'm going to give you the best armor. And you're going to be on my team, because I'm not going to let what happened to Rhodey happen to you. And that's the thing of it is that's the story you're supposed to take away from this. You're not supposed to take away from this of, all this, it's the worst thing when people only read the surface on comic books. Because the whole reason we review comic books is because there is something going on deeper, You can look at Rebirth and say, oh, they're just hammering on Alan Moore. But it's like, no, it's not that they're hammering on Alan Moore. It's that they're saying that there's a darkness that has pervaded the universe because of, to go into a metafictional concept here, it is because of what is valuable to the marketplace. And we need to reassert who we are as characters. To establish our own autonomy, It's not really meant to even be, per se, a rip on the creators of Grim Dark Stories. It's to say that, these characters in these stories should have meaning beyond the thematics of the day. And, and to bring that into our Civil War book, it is this idea that, yes, Cap is Hydra and Tony doesn't like precogs, but if you think that Cap being Hydra and Tony doesn't like precogs is the crux of the story, you're missing the whole story. The story goes deeper than both of those ideas. Mm-hmm. And, that's what we're going to explore in the next couple months.
Yeah.
Yeah. But thumbs up.
Yeah.
For Civil War.
All right. Is that it then?
That's as much as we're going to get tonight on this podcast, I think.
All right. Well, if you have any thoughts on this, and especially Civil War 2, but any different thoughts, although I think Charlie covered it pretty well, you can email us, marvelroundup@gmail.com. Facebook is All New Marvel Roundup. Twitter is @Marvel_Roundup, and our shared Instagram is World's Finest Roundup. And Charlie?
And, of course, if you'd like to write to me, say how right or wrong, because I'm sure many of you think I am a schmendrick with a podcast, feel free to write to me at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. And, of course, if you'd like to tweet with me as I live tweet various shows, including The Incredible Hulk, Saturdays at 7, which is the only new show out right now because it's summertime. Do so by following me at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality.
And as for me, you can always discuss anything Marvel or DC with me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. On Twitter, I'm at nightwingpdp. Most of my social media, it's nightwingpdp. Is that it?
That's it, I think, my friend.
Oh, it better be. But, all right.
What is this?
Come back.
Oh, man, this has got to be like a 2-hour roundup.
Probably.
Oh, Gewalt.
But come back next week. Civil War II is in full swing. And just remember, be a Kamala Khan, not a Tony Stark, Peter Parker.
Peter Parker. That guy's a menace. Peter Parker's a menace, I tell ya.
So, come back next week, and good night from me and J. Jonah Esser over here. Good night.
Good night.